He's Peter King, the MMQB.com Football Night in America. He joins us here on the Dan Patrick Show. Peter, about 13 days to go until the NFL draft. Is the NFL getting their money's worth in pushing this draft back the way they did?
Chris, I think that time will tell, but I think everybody has draft hype fatigue right now. The only way the NFL is going to make a judgment on this is not from teams saying, hey, listen, you're giving us 2 weeks less in an already shortened, jam-packed offseason with our draft choices, many of whom have to play immediately. They're only going to judge it on whether the ratings are up from last year. And one of the ways that they believe the ratings will be higher from last year is the 2 additional weeks of free advertising that everybody in the media gives the NFL with the draft.
So this is exactly what they wanted. I mean, we're still sitting here talking about it with, 2 weeks to go. In a lot of ways, this is, no matter what the perception is of it, this is exactly what they were asking for, right?
Well, we all knew it. I mean, there's no surprise about this. I knew from the start. It's why at our website I said, listen, I just want to make absolutely 100% sure that at the MMQB we don't spend the last 2 weeks before the draft writing the 19th story on Blake Bortles or whoever the Mr. Hot guy is. Now, we are going to cover the draft, but I think fans out there are interested in the draft and care about the draft, but some of the stuff I see out there is just, it's so repetitive. And that's why I'm hoping we can give people some other things other than just the draft in the last 2 weeks before it.
Have you ever seen a player as dissected as Jadeveon Clowney has become?
Yeah, Johnny Manziel. I mean, it's a tie. I think Clowney, but again, both of them rightfully so, because, Jadeveon Clowney had, now again, I'd have to go back and actually figure out how many snaps he was on the field and all this, but I saw this reported, and I shouldn't report it as fact, but he had approximately 420 passing downs that he was on the field for last year at South Carolina, 420. And he had 3 sacks. And so I'm not saying that sacks should be the be-all, end-all. They shouldn't, but that should be a component of the analysis. Did Deacon Jones, Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor ever have 3 sacks in a year where they were on the field for 400 snaps of opposing passing downs? I doubt it sincerely. So I'm not saying that should be how you judge the guy, but I'm saying it should be a part of it. And, again, I think that, the first thing that came out of Steve Spurrier's mouth when he was asked about him, and I forget who it was, McShay or one of those guys, when he was asked about him, talked about his work ethic. And so, again, everybody's had plenty of time to go back and to sanitize everything, and I'm like everybody else. I think he's got an excellent chance. I'm like most other people. I think he's got an excellent chance to be a very good pro player, but I do have some doubts based on his resume.
Do you get the sense that Houston wants to take him, or do they want someone like Atlanta or somebody else to trade up to take him?
They would love a great offer, and they would love it if one of these quarterbacks jumped out at him with such an exclamation point that they figure they'd have to take him.
Which quarterback's been the biggest surprise to you in terms of how their stock has fluctuated?
Probably Teddy Bridgewater. I think at the end of the season, after some of the games that we saw, it was a guy who had a good but not great downfield arm, from the football we saw last fall. And he came into this postseason, I think, having a very good chance to be a top 5 pick. And I think that's fallen some. You don't want to spend too much time on his pro day, but I think, pro days are interesting because I think that he came into his pro day and everybody said, we want to see how good a ball he throws downfield. And he threw a lot of flutter balls at his pro day. On the other hand, people came in and they said, we want to see vast improvement in Johnny Manziel's footwork and his ability to play more of an NFL-style game. And, I watched some tape on Manziel for a story I'm doing for Sports Illustrated with Mike Holmgren. And, at the end of that tape session, Holmgren was extremely skeptical of Manziel because he was sloppy. He was sloppy a lot with his footwork. And in that pro day, George Whitfield, I think, did a really good job in working with him for 10 weeks this offseason, 8 weeks, whatever it was, and really cleaning up a lot of what he did in terms of his footwork. He was much more mechanically sound. So I think the pro day this year really helped Manziel, and I think it hurt Bridgewater.
He's Peter King, the MMQB.com, Football Night America, here on the Dan Patrick Show. Pat Tillman, any chance he gets in the Hall of Fame someday?
I doubt it. I mean, he had an okay to good NFL career. It was a short career, and I would doubt that anybody could make a convincing enough argument that he should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I understand the sentiment because of the tremendous sacrifice he made and then the ultimate sacrifice he made. But, I mean, are we electing people to the Hall of Fame because of the kind of person they are and the kind of things that they did outside of football? Then let's get Whizzer White in the Hall of Fame. He was a Supreme Court judge. Let's get Eddie LeBaron in the Hall of Fame. He was shot twice while serving his country in Korea and then went on to have a good NFL career at quarterback. Let's get the 26 guys, the other 25, other than Pat Tillman, in the Hall of Fame, all of whom were killed in action defending their country.
Yeah, for a guy like Tillman, or any of the guys you mentioned, what are the alternatives outside of that straight up-and-down vote as a player? The contributor aspect of it?
But it's contributor for pro football things.
Yeah.
It's not contributor because he was a great soldier or because he did a gallant thing. I mean, it's got to be the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It can't be the Hall of Fame for being a wonderful person and a shining example of what you become in addition to being a football player. Where do you stop? Again, look, I have great respect for Chris Collinsworth. I think he's the best guy for what he does on television. He's a good friend of mine. I am a little mind-boggled by the argument in this, but I respect it. But I absolutely disagree with it. I just think that the Pro Football Hall of Fame should be for people who had great pro football careers.
Good to talk to you, Peter. Safe travels.
All the best, Chris.
That's Peter King, the MMQB.com